folks, Jen or Mergriffin here, and tonight we're going to take a look at rebuildable atomizers, which are basically atomizers that if the coil goes bad, you can replace that and the wicking material inside them. There's three major ones on the market: the Atomizer from Inhaler, the Bully A2, and this is the new tank model that works with e-cig tanks, and the brand new iAti from GG, which is this part up, which is a 5 ml tank of liquid and a rebuildable atomizer. Let's take a look at in detail what parts you get with the atomizer kit when you purchase it, how to build one each time, and then we'll give them a quick compare. So with your atomizer from inhaler.com, you get a unit with base and the dripping cone over it. And the base has 2 screws for the positive and negative end of you making the coil and putting it on there. And then the Delrin plastic cap that screws onto that. And it gives you these nifty little tools that make it so you can get the connection nice and flush and tight. It comes with some wicking material, and it comes with 3 ohm and 2 ohm coils. Now, these coils have like a conductive or non-resistance bit at the end, some bad tweezers, some foldable scissors. We'll just use our regular ones. Now let's take a close look at that coil. It has on the right side there a bit of non-resisting wire put on the end to wrap around the thing, and then some on the other side as well. So basically what you're wrapping around the wick is the resisted part, which is that loop in the middle between those 2 conductive ends. So let's actually make a coil. We're going to take some wicking material and wrap it over and twist it around. Easier said than done. Let's get that all together. Now we'll take our wire and start from, you know, that larger piece on the end, and then wrap several coils of that middle area around the wicking, trying to get them tight and as close to each other as possible without touching. 3, 4, 5 times around is pretty good. So what you'll have is that wrapped around the wick, I'm sorry, and then the 2 metal ends sticking out that you will then wrap around the screws. So let's take our coil there, hold it up to the screws, placing it on the body, and I usually find it's easier to get it around that outside one first. I'm just going to wrap the wire around the screw. Get my big fingers in there. Tighten that up. And then wrap the other one around the other screw. And tighten that down so that it makes contact. Now we're going to fold the coil up so it's over the screws. And we can go ahead and trim those extra bits of wire. And she fires. Do a quick ohm check. 2.3. Perfect. Let's go ahead and wrap the wicking up into the cap there. And screw the base in. Get our little tool. And away she goes. Now this is one of the easiest ones to actually make a coil because you don't have to have it real tight. It can be kind of big and it can be a little sloppier because you have more area to work with. So that's a close look at the Atomizer from Inhaler.com. I have it sitting on the Darwin right now. It's kind of odd shaped, but that odd shape actually makes it very easy to build the coil because there's so much space between the two screws. It's pretty easy to build that one. Drawback, it is only a dripping addy. There's nothing you can do with this top piece other than drip into it, which is not my favorite thing to do. Decent flavor, good vapor. I like to use it with a variable voltage device because I'm not always sure what ohm I'm going to get when I build the coil. Not something I'm going to use every day. I keep it around for the zombie apocalypse. So next up is the Bully Smoker A2 tank model with a 510 connection. What you get with the unit are two tanks, as with the e-cig, one in it and one separately. You get a resistance wire in which to make the coil, a little 1mm nail to help wrap things around, high tech there, some little mesh, steel mesh in order to make the wicking into the tank, and some actual wicking material. Now, to make it, we're actually going to wrap some of the wicking material up, hold it with the nail just to give it a little stability, and then we're going to take some of the wire and wrap it close and tight, about 5 turns around the wicking material, as close as you can get them without touching. So we'll wrap a few of those. And there we go. We'll trim it off. And what you do is hold it up next to the base and the 2 screws. You adjust this one over just a little bit. Hold it tight in my finger, keeping the nail still inside. Then I'm going to attach it to the base, kind of put it in the middle there and hold it there with my thumb. So that's easy to then take the wire and wrap it around one screw and then the other one. My big fingers. And then I use the screwdriver to tighten those 2 down. And then you can trim the excess wire that's hanging off. Then you're going to push the coil one more tightened. There we go. Now you're going to push the coil up so that it's over the 2 screws. And once you have that fluffed up, you can take the nail that you were using to hold it together out. And she is firing. Success. 2.2 ohms. Then they have you trim the wicking material. And then you're going to add the bottom cap, which is the actual piercing unit that goes into the e-cig tank. And that screws onto the base where you've made your coil. And then you're going to take 2 little bits of wick and curl up one of these little mesh pieces around it, and then roll it tight with your fingers. As tight as you can get it, just keep rolling. And then we're going to trim those little wick ends just a little bit. Flush at the top, and then leaving 1 millimeter on the bottom end so that there's a little bit of that wicking material hanging out to touch the actual coil on the bottom. In theory, it's going to poke up, and now you put it into that little pokey bit that goes into the tank. The theory being that it's going to take the liquid through that mesh and the wicking up from the tank, trim it down, and it's going to pull it down onto your coil. And you put the little cone bit on top, and then stick in your tank with liquid in it, and you're ready to go. Next one up is the Bully A2. This one's a little nicer in that, and pretty in that it fits on a unit and it's not too large. That very size makes it a little harder to build that coil since those little screws are too close together. I do like that it actually has a tank or a cartridge rather than being a dripping only. However, that's kind of its drawback too. I haven't been able to get it to wick consistently. I've changed that little piece of mesh and how long the little strands of wicking are in there so that they touch onto the coil better. I've made the hole in the bottom of the tank bigger. I can take about 3 or 4 drags before I get the most horrendous dratty imaginable and make horrible faces. But if the FDA tries to take away my toys, or there's a zombie emergency and